Okay, so I'm going to start this off by just saying I feel that I should make this video because I didn't make enough while I was in front of it. Teresa got cold, like I said, and she was taking care of William as well. And he's a rambunctious little boy and does not like to sit still. And he was in the car seat for almost 3 hours at that point anyway. So what I'll do is I'll start like right now, and I'm going to go through the two videos that I felt were probably some of the most informative about the new features of the Baler, and the loop knot technology. That is kind of simple and interesting at the same time. I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll just go through it together. So stay tuned. All right, so this is going to go pretty quickly. I pulled the video off the internet, obviously, and it is on the big Baler 340 high density New Holland. There's some key features that this thing has that I really do like. I don't feel that they're necessary, but I do like them. As you can see, this Baler is raising up. It has a hydraulic suspension system, and that allows you to get underneath. And this has a hydraulic door, or not door, but it's like the crone where the twine box will swing out. And I kind of like that too, because you're able to really get in there and do the work you need to do. And this guy is not exactly thin, and he's able to get between the tires and, service the needles. The other thing that I'm not sure, the jury is out on this thing, but is on this transmission that they've got in front of the flywheel. I kind of say I like it, but I kind of say I don't like it for a couple of reasons. The one thing I do like is ease of startup. What I don't like about it is the fact that there's like angles in there. 1, 2, 3 angles. 1, 2, 3 angles that thing has to run on. There's obviously a bevel gear at the top, but it goes through its speed. You just start that power takeoff shaft up, and it's electronically controlled until it gets to the right speed, and then you can see it's all of a sudden it's going to stop. Ready, ready, ready. Here it comes. Here it comes. No, maybe not. Maybe it's still speeding up. No, it's going to stop now. All of a sudden, there is a brake inside there. See how it just stopped it? Well, that brake actually stops the plunger after it just comes out of the compression stroke. Now, that is huge, if you ask me, because even with the Krone, and I know the Deere and the Heston are the same way, when you stop the baler, when you shut that baler off, it rests against the bale on the right before it's ready to compress the stroke. And then you got to force your way through, whether you relieve the pressure off the boards and let the bale slide out a little bit. New Holland got that figured out, and I really like that feature. Now, what these guys are talking about right now is a different color of paint. They painted the frame yellow for contrast. To me, I don't care. I don't care if they painted it purple. I don't care. Paint is paint. So they were talking about all the moving parts are painted the gray. They called it black, but it is actually a gray. And there you go. Now he's getting inside here, and he's talking about the rotor, less moving parts, and he's going to illustrate with his hands how the Packer system would work on the older style. There he goes. And how it will actually reduce vibration and wear by using the rotor instead of the Packer forks. I agree with him. I like the rotor over the Packer forks. Krone has something very different. It is like a Hume reel on a combine header, bean header, wheat header. But now this guy, he's skinny. He's going to slide right between those wheels, get underneath it. I don't see any lockouts for the hydraulic cylinders. I don't see them at all. I think there's a button on the side that he pushed. But this is nice. But again, how necessary really was it? How necessary was it? I like New Holland's twine boxes because you don't have all that dirt and crap coming down. You can see at the top of the box there's a rubber doodad there that keeps the dirt from falling down your neck. Now, what they're talking about here, again, is another feature that I kind of like, but is it necessary? One of those things. I like it. If it didn't cost any more money, great, but chances are it's going to cost you more money anyway. So they're talking about the double acting cylinders on the compression boards. There are 7 of them. I think my Krone has 6. The ones on the Krone are much larger than these, but if you add a cylinder, then it's probably equal. The yoke and where they're housed is anemic, if you ask me, but they've got it welded together in multifaceted pieces so that it's probably strong enough to do the job that they need it to do. And they're talking about the height of the baler here, how high it is. You can run it like that, but they don't recommend it because the bale has to fall. And that air tank there is for brakes, and they're talking about the speed in which this tractor will take this thing down the road and how you would need air brakes. Now, this part right here is the loop knot technology, and they're going to illustrate this. But as you see this flake of hay come up, there is holdback fingers that form that slice. They're not illustrating them here, but they are not strong enough. I looked at these. They're the same as my old baler were. They're just like a 1-inch shaft, solid shaft, and it breaks. They have done a little bit of repair work to it, but anyways, let's get on to the loop knot technology. This is how these knotters work. The wiper arm comes up. The twine is caught with the needle on the upper roller. The bottom roller has the bottom string in it. The tucker finger comes across. The twine disc starts to turn. The bill hook turns, opens up, catches that thing, and then on the right-hand side of your screen, you see how the wiper arm cuts the twine, ejecting. As it strips it off, it pulls it through. Okay, and now it's going to make the second knot. All right, so now this is where the loop technology is. It comes around and they're cutting this thing. Okay, this is not exactly how it works, to be quite honest with you. I looked at it at the dealership. Now, when it cuts that thing off of there, and this is about to disappear, and you're going to see my ugly mug, but when that cuts that off of there, that bill hook actually turns another, 60 degrees. So it no longer is straight across inside the knotter. You just are not going to see that there. It's not straight across anymore. It is now perpendicular with the needles. I mean, it is that way. And I kind of like that idea because the second knot is the one that screws up on us all the time. Never the first knot. It's always the second knot. Now, how do we know that it's the second knot? Because it finishes a bale with the first knot and it starts the bale with the second knot. So that loop knot is technically the first knot on the bale. Not the last one, but the first one. So, and those are generally the knots that break. So, New Holland's got an idea here that it's not really a new idea. It's an older idea. Hopefully they've perfected it. I see problems with it as things wear. In the bill hook where the little tongue is, there's a pin that goes through there. And if you're in dirty conditions like corn fodder or sandy conditions where wheat straw, where you're baling a lot of wheat straw and there's sandy conditions in there, that dirt, dust, and sand and dirt gets up in there and it wears that pin and that tongue. And I've had those pins wear where the tongue was actually cocked over on the bill hook so far that it would touch the bill hook outside of the slot. So when they make that loop knot, that thing opens up and releases everything out of there as it turns. It actually kicks that loop out. So, I don't know. Jury's still out, if you ask me, on that thing. I'd like to see 20,000 bales through a baler before I would even judge that. From what I see a lot less problems with that knotter keeping the knot, that second knot. I think it's going to eject that when it turns that 60 degrees. Was it 60? No, 90 degrees. 90 degrees, not 60. 90 degrees. Sorry about my math is wrong. So it turns at 90 degrees, and then 90, 90, 180. 180 is 360. So blah blah blah. Anyways, 90 degrees. It turns 90 degrees, and it opens. When it opens, that's big right there. I would love to see I don't care about the tails. They're talking about pollution. You're polluting with the little knots and stuff, or the little tails. And yes, they're around. You see them in the field time after time. But it's a little bit. Does it end up in the waterways? Probably at some point in history it will. But plastic does break down through the sun. UV breaks it down. And let's face it, plastic is here to stay. They're not going to get rid of it. Well, maybe they will. Who knows if AOC keeps going. But anyways, when my knots hang up, as on that second knot on the crone, when things get worn or tight. Now, corn fodder will bring out every little problem you've got. If you're baling corn fodder, you will find out what is wrong with your baler at a very expedited rate. My problems that I had with my balers were twine tension, too high a twine tension, and it would cinch that knot onto the bill hook, and the wiper arm, or the arm could not wipe it off of the bill hook all the way. It would just catch in there, and it wouldn't pull through, and I would have a loop knot without wanting one, because then it's stuck there. And then when you go to run the second knot, it's about a 60 to 80% chance that it's going to wrap the next set of twine around there, because it doesn't open up fast enough, and it just wraps it right on around. And then you got a mess like broken bill hooks, broken tongues, broken pins on the gear, the bevel gear that's on there. It just can be a pain in the ass. So if New Holland has got this thing figured out, that loop, when they open up, damn well that thing is gonna release it. It's gonna fall off of the hook, because there's a lot of pressure there. And once it opens up, it's done. So this may work out really well. I don't know. Jury's out on it. I kind of like that. Now, there are these features that are on here and that I've talked about, they're great, right? A baler that lifts like 3 feet off the ground, comes up. I've got access. I can get in there. I don't have to crawl around under there and on my belly, get underneath and reach way up. I can just get in between the wheels and reach up and tie the damn knot, and life is good. I don't have any springs in the way with that system. I like it. Is it necessary, though? For the amount of times that I've been out of the tractor on my belly, crawling underneath the baler to restring a knot in 2 balers, I might have done that 20 times in 30,000 bales, like between the 2 balers. So let's do this 15 times per baler in a year. So that's 30 times. Every 10,000 bales, I might have an issue underneath. I really don't have a problem with it. I'm used to it. If it costs me $10,000 for the hydraulic system, or adds $10,000 to the baler, I'm not going to buy it for that. I'm not going to look at it and say, what, I got to have that. That's something I have to have. The one thing that I would really like New Holland to do is to work on their header. Now, I know they're not going to come to Krone standards when it comes to a header. Krone has 3 chains on the right side of the baler that run the accelerator or the upper auger, and then another chain that runs the back auger, and then the longest chain actually runs the pickup, the rotor, the actual pickup tines. And they run at a pretty high rate of speed. But none of those chains are over, 5 feet long. If you cut them in half and lay them out on the ground, they're not 5 feet long. So in order to change all the chain on the Krone baler, it takes 20 feet of chain and that's both sides. The left side has another 5 foot of chain or whatever. So there's 15 foot of chain within the right-hand side. Not even 15 feet. It's close to 15 feet within 3 different chains. Now, if you have one single 15-foot chain, it stretches the whole chain. You can add 5 inches of stretch in a 15-foot chain. 6 inches of stretch, 7 inches of stretch. And what that does is it puts pressure on the sprockets that are being driven by this chain, and it creates excessive wear. They wear sharp, then they start to skip, and then you start to hammer on things, and then you break shafts, you break bearings, you break chains, you break all kinds of stuff. They get very, very hot. I got so every couple of hours I was out douching these chains down with spray lithium grease, high quality spray lithium grease. I even took, at times I would take regular grease out of a tube and put it on those chains just to keep them cool enough. Oil slings off in high temperature. Grease will stay there a lot longer. It will actually, as it heats, it liquefies and it will actually lubricate better. In my opinion, it did. So I was using liquid wrench, spray lithium grease, or blaster lithium grease, and that worked pretty good. But still, that problem was a problem. I don't have the problems with the pickups on the Krone like I did with the New Holland. And I am, let's put it this way, I am doing a lot more baling with my Krone, and I'm having probably 1/100th the problems with that pickup because of that. My biggest problem with the pickups on the Krone is, and I think it's mechanical error, is the guy that's putting the thing on there, is the pickup tines, the bolt, they have a nylock on them, and when you take them off, you really should replace them about every third tine you replace, because the nylocks, they wear out, they loosen up, the bolt comes out, that pickup tine runs around inside that rotor, and it wipes out a half a dozen or more pickup tines before it breaks apart. It ends up on the ground. So that's an issue that, that can be remedied with intelligence, New Holland still runs the cam and follower design on their pickup. The shaft in the center of the pickup reel for that, they break. I've broke every single Baler that I have owned from New Holland. I have snapped that shaft. Snapped it. Now, I will tell you this. I've broken the shaft on the rotor on the Krone. You saw me weld one together, and everybody's like, oh, that's not going to work. Well, it works. It works. It still works. I'm going to do another one because I've got another rotor there. I should probably do that today. It would be a fun thing to do. Yeah, and I made it out of stainless steel instead of regular mild steel, and it was, 304 or 404 stainless. I don't even know what the hell it was. Shaft stainless, and it worked really well. Teresa has bailed. I've bailed. We've jammed it up. It didn't snap off. Am I going to trust it to go to North Carolina? Probably. Yeah, I probably will. Maybe not. I don't know. It should hold up. I'll have a rotor on hand, I can tell you that. For next year, because I got 3 of these Krones that are going to be running, Cody's and my 2. Yeah, and if New Holland ponies up a Baler, shit, we'll be running 4, but I don't think New Holland's going to. Even though Messick's did call me yesterday, I do have to call them back. And it was the salesman, to be honest with you. So, anyway, yeah, that chain on that pickup, the pickup shaft in the center of that all needs to be revamped. If I was working for New Holland and I knew this problem existed, and they know the problem exists because they have those shafts on hand everywhere. It's not like it's on a back order. Well, maybe it wasn't. I did have one on a back order, and I had to weld it up. I had to wait for it to come from Oregon one time. So I took the shaft, and I took an old shaft that I had broken, and I cut the end of it off, and I beveled it to a point, and I spun it and welded it all the way around and put that shaft in and ran that shaft for a while. I have it. I could show you. I'd prove it. So they know it's a problem, and they don't fix it. The other problem is in the holdback fingers, and I know I've already said this already, but the holdback fingers in the pre-charge chamber, there is a 1 inch or an inch and a 16th or some. It's a solid shaft that they weld the little fingers to that go into the pre-charge chamber that hold that hay from going up into the bottom of the plunger. It's still a better design than Heston. Heston has too much space past, and I actually had to add some baffles in there to make it work right. But we did get it. We did get it right. Those broke on me in the 340 because they sped the stroke rate. They sped it up, and that creates more shock when it when it goes in and out because it's going faster and inertia, and they would snap. And I fixed mine by doing what I saw them do, which was weld a flat piece of steel across the entire back of that thing to create a little spine that would hold it together. Personally, they probably could have done a little better job at that, adding a little diameter to it, say 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. If they'd have made it out of a 1 1/4 inch thick round stock, they wouldn't have had to retool to just weld a flat piece to it. They could have just retooled to accept a larger piece of steel in the jig, and the robot could have welded it up that way. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that they're just not doing the things they need to do. So I see all these new features and these great features on this baler, but I still see all the old problems that I have not been addressed or remedied. That's what bugs me about New Holland. It's like, hey, look, we got a new baler. Hey, look, this is what we've done. Hey, look, this is nice, new, and better. And it is one ugly thing. I mean, I think this baler is just butt ugly, but looks don't get the product through it. They really don't. I think they could have did a little. It looks like a humpback whale. I mean, if you look at that thing, it looks like a humpback whale, and it's heavy. That baler's 32,000 pounds. I thought Krone was heavy at 24. That thing is heavy, heavy, because they keep adding stuff. Now, would I buy this baler? Probably not. Not yet. Not yet. I wouldn't because I'm a man of my word, but if they lent me one, I'd run it, and I would pick out all the big problems that it would have, because I'm going to have the same problems I had the last time with the 340 crop cutter. Because everything from the crop cutter forward, with the exception of the transmission and the hitch, is a little different. It's easier to adjust. They're turnbuckles. You can raise it and lower it to level your baler as you like, which I like that feature. I really do. I think that's actually a pretty good idea. I also like the fan that they made out of the flywheel, like I said to do 6 years ago. 6 years ago. I'm like, hey, you know what would make this thing a whole lot better? Keep it from building up with crap, is if they turned this big flywheel into an actual fan. And I was thinking of making blocks of metal and putting them on the spokes to create a fan, but they cast it in. So they did that. And what the heck else? Well, the stuffer or the packer arms. What else did they do? They did several of my ideas. They really did. And I'm proud of those ideas, like the shield that stiffens the side, that keeps it from bending over from pulling on that idler sprocket. They did that, which was nice, and a couple of other beefed up spots in there, which is just... It's like putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound, you know. First, you got to stop the bleeding, you know. If they would stop the bleeding and then beef it up like that, then maybe it would be a little bit better. But anyway, 22 minutes is a lot of me yammering on, so I'm just going to go ahead and end this here. Thanks for watching. It's probably the last thing you're going to see of this baler unless New Holland drags one over to me, which I don't expect. But anyways, thanks again. Have a good day. Are we going to stop?